Alright guys, welcome back. It's your boy Mousy, and this is Mousy Motors. So I've been getting a vibration on this vehicle as I'm going faster and a clunk when shifting. Coolant leak just appeared, so gotta fix that as well. But been having this vibration lately at like 60 miles per hour. And the other day I was looking under the truck, just quickly checking out stuff, and I see this right here. So this bushing is like completely gone, completely separated. And if I apply pressure, I can actually get it to move. So now I gotta do this carrier bush bearing is what they call it. So gonna have to replace that. I do have to drive the drive shaft, the back end part of it. I do have the rear already on ramps, so just to have a little bit more space. But it doesn't look too bad to do. And then I'm also gonna lube up my U joints, so make sure all those are good. But let's get started. Actually, before you disconnect any drive shaft, you're just gonna want to chock wheels. I'm gonna be chocking the front wheels just because I already have the back wheels elevated, and I can't really chock those since they're on ramps. So I'm gonna chock both front wheels, and then I'm gonna make sure the brakes are applied. All right, so both front wheels are already chocked, and for this I usually use this hood prop tool to kind of apply the brakes for me whenever I can. Just an extra safety measure. I already have the front wheels chocked like I said, but in case this fails, the front wheels will already chock, so hopefully the vehicle doesn't roll back. But you can use something like this, or maybe even a pry bar to apply the brakes, just for extra insurance. I actually end up flipping this tool around just so I have the bigger end on the brake pedal, because there's probably a higher chance for the smaller end to fall off. So we're just gonna remove these nuts. These nuts. And then you always want to definitely be careful when disconnecting a drive shaft. You always see videos of guys online disconnecting drive shafts, and the vehicle starts rolling while they're still under it. So that's why, chock the wheels. Make sure there's if you want brake pressure applied to it, just as an extra insurance. Just because once you disconnect this, there's nothing holding on to preventing this vehicle from rolling, other than the emergency brakes, which I have applied. So, but you never know. Better have couple more things than just one thing, relying on one thing. So. Okay, so one thing we're going to do before we remove all the bolts for the drive shaft is mark the alignment of the way the drive shaft was before we remove it, disconnect them. These drive shafts are usually balanced from the factory, and they should go back together the way you removed them. So just make a couple marks, just to give you an idea of where they're supposed to line up to. I'm not planning on spinning any of these, but just in case they do spin or have to spin them later, then I'm just going to mark them before. So I know that these two marks are going to be on the bottom from this flange to this flange, so just like that. Alright, so just like that, you're gonna let the back end of the drive shaft hang, and then you can check your U-joints and all that, lube them up if you want to. But for now we can just start replacing this. Alright, so now we're just removing these two 14mm bolts. And then just make sure you support this because the drive shaft is gonna drop once you release that last bolt. And there it is. And this one as well, you're just gonna let it hang just like that. And then now we can replace our carrier bearing. Alright, so in order to get our carrier bearing out, we're gonna have to get this piece out first, this flange. This nut is notched, so we're gonna take out that notch first, and then we can remove the nut with an impact. Alright, so we're just gonna work at an angle, just so I don't have to sit under the truck. We're gonna have to get this notch up, out of the way. Alright, now we're just gonna buzz this nut off, just like that. And then just like before, we're just gonna mark the location of how this sits so that we don't install it in a different position, as it could throw out the balance of the drive shaft. Kind of hard to see, but I just marked it in there. And now when I remove it, I can install it in the same position. Since we got our positions marked, we're just gonna pull this off, and then the bearing will come out right after. And as you can see, it's no longer centered. It's completely sagging on this side, so this thing had failed. Alright, so this is a new part that we're going to be installing. It's a Spicer carrier bearing. I actually was able to match up the part numbers for this one and the old one. I believe there's a bunch of different configurations for these vehicles, so like it was pretty confusing to find which exact bearing I needed. But I was able to just read it off the old one and then order this new one. But it looks like it's directional, so it's gonna tell me to install this, I'm assuming, towards the front of the vehicle. And then we're just gonna wipe down the surface where the new bearing is gonna go, where it's gonna ride on, so make sure this is nice and clean. So now that we got it all clean, we're just gonna reinstall this carrier bearing. Just gonna slip over the axle, just like that. And I did find two washers on the old one. They went on this side, so I'm just gonna reinstall those as it came out, so just so everything's kind of the same. I don't know if this is normal, but I'm assuming so. And then we're gonna install our flange, and then just reusing the old marks that we made earlier. Just to make sure. Looks about right. And then just the same nut and washer. You should replace this if you are doing this, but I wasn't able to get one, so Just gonna be reusing it. And then we're just gonna tighten this down and then get a torque. Nice and smooth. Alright, so this is a 24mm nut. We do have to torque it to 134 foot-pounds, loosen it, and then torque it to 51 foot-pounds. So that is 134 right there. And that's just to get it seated. So now we're gonna do 51. And here's 51 foot-pounds. Not very tight, honestly, but it'll do. Alright, so we're gonna restake this nut. Just getting it practically in the same spot that we had it earlier. Next time if I have to do this again, hopefully not in a while, I can just definitely buy a new nut for this. Alright, so now we're just gonna hang this drive shaft. And then we're gonna reconnect the two halves together. Alright, so I think my differential might have moved a little bit when I was torquing the nut on the back end, so I did slip it in neutral, and I'm able to easily just move it in and out. So that's gonna help me align these holes a lot better. Alright, so we're just gonna install the rest of the bolts. Alright, so now we just gotta torque these four nuts to 54 foot-pounds. I'll be using a crow's foot on my torque wrench, and then a wrench on the back end. That one's torqued. That one's torqued too. Gonna go all the way around. Alright, last we just gotta tighten up these bolts right here that hold the bearing up, and then torque them to 27 newton meters. This one you just want to make sure that it's nice and centered, as there's some side to side play, so as best as you can get it towards the middle. So about right there is where I like it. Alright. Like I said, this one's gonna be 27 foot-pounds. Alright guys, that is it. Now she's all torqued. I'm still gonna grease these U-joints, but I'm actually gonna do that in the morning when I can see, when it's light out. I'm gonna clean all these areas and get it nice and greased, so I'll see you guys in a bit. It is now the next day, and the last thing I gotta do is just clean up these zerk fittings and grease all my U-joints and all that, and be all good. So I'm just gonna do a couple, and then I'll do the rest off video, but alright guys, that is it. Drive shaft's all back together, greased up, bearing replaced. She's gonna be ready for anything else, but hopefully you learned something, and make sure you subscribe. I'll see you out.